You know that feeling when you look at your bank statement at the end of the month and nothing seems obviously reckless, but somehow your money still disappeared. You did not buy a luxury watch. You did not book a first-class flight to Dubai. You did not walk into a dealership and make a deeply emotional decision under fluorescent lighting. You just lived. Dinner with friends on Friday. Brunch on Sunday. A birthday gift here. Drinks after work there. A concert ticket because everyone was going. A weekend trip you technically could not afford, but saying no felt weirder than saying yes. Then there is the Uber because parking was impossible, the outfit because you did not want to show up looking like you gave up on life, and the coffee before the meetup because apparently socializing now requires a warm beverage and a personality. Individually, none of it feels crazy. Collectively, it is brutal. And that is the problem. Most people think they are overspending because they lack discipline. They think they need a stricter budget, more self-control, or one of those finance apps that sends passive-aggressive notifications every time they buy guacamole. But that is usually not what is happening. The real problem is that your social life has a price tag, and nobody tells you how expensive it gets once your friend group quietly decides what normal looks like. I call this the friendship tax. And if you have ever felt like you are doing everything right financially, but your social life keeps dragging you back into why is my savings account still embarrassing territory, this video is for you. I am Nick, and today we are going to talk about why your friends can quietly raise your cost of living without meaning to, how social spending rewires your sense of what is reasonable, and why one of the biggest hidden drains on wealth has nothing to do with greed, luxury, or bad investing, and everything to do with belonging. Let us get into it. What the friendship tax actually is. The friendship tax is the extra money you spend to participate in the social world around you. Not because someone forced you. Not because your friends are evil. Not because you are stupid. Because humans are wired to belong. And belonging is expensive. That is the part nobody says out loud. Your social circle quietly sets the price of what feels normal. If your friends like hosting potlucks, going for walks, hanging out at each other's apartments, and keeping life simple, your social life is cheap. If your friend group idea of a casual weekend involves rooftop cocktails, $90 dinners, destination weddings, boutique fitness classes, and we should totally do a girls' trip every 6 weeks, congratulations, your relationships now have recurring charges. And here is the sneaky part: the friendship tax rarely feels like overspending. It feels like being included, not being awkward, not being the cheap one, not missing memories, maintaining relationships. Just one night out, it is a special occasion. I cannot say no every time. But when special occasions happen every week, they stop being special. They become your social operating system. And that operating system can get very expensive very fast. The math nobody does. Let us run a basic example. Imagine you spend an extra $70 on one dinner and drinks each week, $40 on one coffee brunch, or casual hangout, $60 a month on gifts, birthdays, and random group expenses, and another $150 a month on social spillover, spending, Ubers, takeout, last-minute tickets, and small upgrades. That adds up to roughly $670 per month. That is over $8,000 per year. Now on paper, $8,000 does not sound like my social life is bankrupting me. It sounds more like, yeah, but life is for living. Fair enough. But $8,000 per year invested at 8% over 25 years becomes roughly $585,000. $500,000. That is the difference between being comfortable in retirement and not having options, and not being able to leave a job you hate, and not being financially resilient, and always one weird month away from stress. And again, this is not yacht money. This is friendship spending. This is being normal in a culture where normal has quietly become expensive. Why this happens psychologically? Now let us talk about why this is so powerful, because this is not about weak character. This is basic human wiring doing exactly what it was designed to do. Mechanism 1: your brain prices belonging higher than you realize. Humans are not rational calculators. We are social mammals with bills. Your brain treats social exclusion as a threat. Not a metaphorical threat, a real one. Being left out, falling behind, being seen as different from your group hits harder than a lot of people want to admit. So when your friends suggest something slightly too expensive, the internal calculation is not, is this worth $84 after tax and tip? The real calculation is, what happens socially if I am the only one who says no? That is a completely different question. And it is why people who negotiate aggressively at work suddenly become helpless around a group text that says dinner Saturday, we have not all been together in forever. That sentence has destroyed more budgets than inflation. Mechanism 2. Your reference point shifts. If you spend most of your time around people who treat expensive behavior as casual, your brain starts labeling that behavior as normal. This is how someone goes from "I would never pay $18 for a cocktail" to "well, I mean, it is downtown, and they do put rosemary in it." The number did not change. Your reference point did. And once your reference point shifts, it becomes much harder to tell whether you are enjoying life or just financially drifting with the crowd. Mechanism 3. Reciprocity pressure. Relationships run on invisible accounting. Your friend came to your birthday dinner. You should show up for theirs. They bought a wedding gift. You should too. They invited you on the trip. You should not be the one who kills the vibe. They paid for the Uber last time. You will grab it this time. None of this is malicious. It is how social cohesion works. But financially, it means the cost of one event often echoes into the next one. One yes creates another yes. And before long, you are not responding to isolated invitations. You are maintaining a system. That system has a monthly burn rate. The 3 layers of the friendship tax. Most people think the friendship tax is just the event itself. It is not. It comes in layers. Layer 1. The activity cost. This is the obvious one: dinners, drinks, concerts, weddings, bachelor or bachelorette trips, baby showers, birthdays, just a quick catch-up that somehow costs $48. This is the visible price of socializing. Layer 2. The presentation cost. This one is sneakier. Socializing does not just cost the event. It costs showing up in a way that feels socially acceptable. That means clothes, grooming, transportation, looking put together, having the right vibe, not feeling like the underfunded side character in someone else's lifestyle movie. You do not just pay for dinner. You pay to not feel out of place at dinner. That part gets expensive fast. Layer 3. The recovery cost. This is the cost after the thing. Takeout because you got home late. Spending more the next day because you are tired and mentally drained. Skipping meal prep. Ordering coffee because you are dragging. Using shopping or convenience spending as a small emotional reward because you have been on socially all weekend. Socializing has financial aftershocks, and most people never track them. They only remember the meal. They do not count the ripple effect. Why the friendship tax gets worse as you get older. Here is the part that catches people off guard. The friendship tax often gets more expensive as your income rises, even if your income does not rise that much. Because your peers level up their lifestyle and your social expectations rise with them. The group used to meet at someone's apartment with cheap wine and frozen pizza. Now it is nicer restaurants, nicer vacations, nicer gifts, nicer venues, nicer everything. Nobody announces this transition. It just happens. And because the upgrades are gradual, your brain does not scream "this is too expensive." It says this is just what people our age do. That sentence is dangerous. Because what people our age do is responsible for an astonishing amount of financial self-destruction. People do not go broke from one grand dramatic mistake nearly as often as they go broke from socially normalized recurring spending. That is a much less cinematic story, but it is usually the real one. How this quietly blocks wealth. The friendship tax does not just take money. It blocks momentum. That is what makes it so destructive. Let us say you want to build your first serious financial cushion. Maybe your goal is $10,000 saved, or paying off high-interest debt, or maxing out your Roth IRA, or building your investing habit. That requires consistency. But social spending is one of the easiest categories to rationalize because it does not feel selfish or wasteful. It feels relational. So what gets cut when money gets tight? Usually not the social stuff. People will cut investing before they cut brunch. They will postpone debt payoff before they say no to the trip. They will keep making the minimum payment on a credit card while buying a $125 birthday dinner because I cannot not go. And that is how social belonging quietly outranks future freedom in the monthly budget. Not intentionally, emotionally. The result is that your financial life never quite gets enough uninterrupted oxygen to grow. You are always restarting, always rebuilding, always saying, okay, next month I will get serious. And next month has been coming for 5 years. What wealthy-minded people do differently. Now this is important. People who build wealth are not necessarily antisocial. They are not sitting alone in the dark eating canned beans and whispering sweet nothings to an index fund. They still have friends. They still celebrate. They still spend money socially. But they do one thing differently. They refuse to let their social environment set their financial baseline. That is the difference. They decide what they can afford first. Then they socialize inside those constraints. Most people do the opposite. They let the social calendar happen first, and then try to survive financially afterward. That is backwards, and it guarantees stress. How to lower the friendship tax without becoming weird. Let us make this practical. You do not have to become the boring friend. You do not need to disappear into a cave and emerge every 6 months holding a spreadsheet and a thermos. You just need boundaries. Rule 1: create a social spending number. Not a vague idea, a number. Maybe it is $200 a month. Maybe it is $400. Maybe it is more. But decide what your social life is allowed to cost before your friends do it for you. Because if you do not assign a number, your group dynamics will. Rule 2: stop saying yes in real time. This is huge. The most expensive word in personal finance is not luxury. It is sure. People say yes too fast because they do not want to create friction in the moment. So create a delay. Use lines like, "Let me check a couple things. I will get back to you tonight. Maybe let me look at my week." That tiny pause brings your financial brain back online. Rule 3: become the friend who suggests cheaper rituals. Most groups are not as committed to expensive plans as they seem. They are just following momentum. So interrupt the momentum. Suggest coffee and a walk, dinner at home, game night, potluck day trip, instead of full weekend trip, one drink instead of the whole evening becoming a financial event. Cheap socializing is not inferior socializing. It is often better. People just forgot that because restaurants and travel websites have better marketing than your living room. Rule 4: choose your premium moments. Not everything has to be cut, but not everything gets to be worth it either. Pick the things you genuinely care about: your best friend birthday, one great trip a year, a concert you actually love, a wedding that matters deeply. Spend intentionally there. Then be much stricter on the filler events that blur together and leave you with receipts instead of memories. Rule 5: stop financing your relationships with debt. This one should be obvious, but apparently we need to say it out loud. If your social life is regularly going on a credit card balance you cannot clear, you are not making memories. You are borrowing money to perform financial normalcy. That is a brutal deal. The uncomfortable truth about real friendship. Here is the part nobody likes, but everybody needs. A friendship that requires recurring financial self-harm to maintain is not a healthy friendship structure. That does not mean your friends are bad people. It means the social terms of the relationship may be built around assumptions that do not work for your life. And one of the most financially mature things you can do is stop pretending you can afford every invitation just to avoid a moment of discomfort. Because that moment of discomfort is small. Months or years of financial stagnation are not. Real friends can survive a cheaper suggestion, a declined trip, a skipped dinner, a smaller gift, a "not this time." If the relationship collapses because you did not want to spend $230 on tapas and cocktails, the issue was never tapas. Conclusion. Here is the truth. A lot of people are not broke because they are irresponsible. They are broke because their social life quietly became a luxury subscription they never consciously signed up for. And since belonging feels emotionally necessary, the spending never gets treated like a real problem. It gets treated like life. That is why the friendship tax is so powerful. It hides inside connection, celebration, politeness, fear of missing out, wanting to be easy, wanting to be included, wanting to feel normal. But normal can get very expensive. And if you do not define the financial terms of your own life, your social world will do it for you. So the next time you feel money slipping through your fingers and nothing looks obviously stupid, ask yourself a better question. How much of my spending is really mine, and how much of it is the cost of staying in sync with everyone around me? Because once you can see the friendship tax clearly, you stop making random guilty cuts and start protecting the category that matters most, your freedom. That is it for this one. If this made you rethink the hidden cost of your social life, hit subscribe and share this with someone who says we should definitely do dinner soon, like it is not a financial event. I will see you in the next one.